On TVC Breakfast, it's not time for us to look at what the papers are reporting. The first with me is the Nation newspaper with the banner headline, Governors renew pledge to speed up development in state. Subnationals helmsmen used Independence Day to reflect on economic reforms, insecurity, among others. Leadership newspaper, we have above the masthead, reactions as Kano governor demands police commissioner's removal. But then we also have the congratulatory message by Abdulaziz Yari congratulating Nigeria on the National Day celebration. Moving on to the Hope newspaper. Nigeria at 65. Tinubu calls for farms, factories to drive economy. Urges Nigerians to embrace productivity, innovation, made in Nigerian goods. President admits reforms bring hardship but insists sacrifices will secure lasting prosperity. Next is the Platform Times. Kano governor demands sack of police commissioner over Independence Day boycott. Interesting development. Nigeria at 65. Leaders call for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy. The Punch newspaper, Pengerson strike. NNPC laments losses as union holds action. 16% of crude output, 30% of gas supply disrupted during strike. The Daily Times, divesting NNPCL shares will undermine energy sovereignty. ADC warns Tinubu. The Daily Trust newspaper, insecurity, over 180 schools shut in the north. Blueprint newspaper, Benue, anxiety trails Remi Tinubu's 1 billion naira water IDP's lifeline. We suffer neglect. First lady's intervention our only hope. That's according to the IDPs. This Nigeria, visas, anxiety among Nigerian applicants over US shutdown. Interesting development. And the Sporting Live, Osimhen not injured. Nigerian was tired and had foot cramps. Right, Etoma, Ria, as well as Nelson, welcome to the conversation.
Yeah,
let's start off with, we're still basking in the euphoria of Nigeria at 65. It's not an easy feat or easy task we've actually achieved. So looking at the Nation newspaper, they talk about the Leadership newspaper, the Hope newspaper, the Platform Times, giving another angle to the development. The Guardian also talking about leaders calling for reforms on poverty, insecurity, faltering democracy, and that of the Nation newspaper saying that governors are renewing their pledge to speed up development in state. We've always had this renewal of pledge, telling us we'll do this, we'll do that. Time is of essence here.
Yes, and the governors right now know that they don't have any excuse no more. Nobody is going to say, the allocation is too small, IGR is too small, and so on. Your allocation is 3 times what it used to be now. And the awareness that the media and social media has been carrying out on which blame to put on governors is getting hotter and hotter. And people are beginning to realize that most of the things we call on Mr. President to do is actually the governors we should be calling. So they know, they are feeling it. And so it became very necessary for this kind of pledge to come on. But you see, as you said, talk is cheap. You can pledge today and go sit down and cross your legs tomorrow. We hope that this is not just rhetorics, that we're going to have some action coming from them, because actually they are the ones that can really develop our country.
So it's not about paying lip profession to, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But if you look at it from what the president said, looking at the Hope newspaper, saying that, urged Nigerians to embrace productivity, innovation, made in Nigerian goods. He also admitted that, there is hardship. These reforms bring hardship, but then it's just a sacrifice that we need to make for lasting prosperity.
I love the fact that he mentioned that there is hardship, so you can see that he's a president that sees what is going on. And talking about these governors, at the end of the day, it's just like having your boss and then you go and now start telling CEO things when your boss can handle it. That's how it looks like. We take everything to the president when most times these governors, when they're given the responsibilities, they do not get to do it well. But I'm happy that right now they are pledging, but it's not just about pledge because talk is cheap. We really need to see actions. We don't need to see that every time you're rushing to the federal government, you're rushing to the president. It's just like a baby that they put you to do something and you cannot do it effectively. collectively. We are celebrating 65 years. You know, we've come a long way. And at the end of the day, I'm just hoping that people that are given opportunities to do something should start taking accountability and just making sure they do what they're put there to do.
Absolutely. Nelson, Platform Times says that Kano governor demands sack of police commissioner over Independence Day boycott. Governor accuses CP of disloyalty, undermining security institutions, says police absence at 65th anniversary parade, unprofessional, partisan. I do not get it, you know.
Ibrahim, I was just looking at that, you know.
When we're talking about patriotism, you expect that. You talk about people who always, you know, do things to uplift the country, the essence of Nigeria. You see the security personnel there because of the beautiful parade that they have to stage.
Well, you know, I'm looking at this with a mixed feeling and probably understanding as well. On one hand, without being so sentimental, I think the governor was just kind of right that the commissioner should be there with his men. I mean, we're talking about independence. It's something to raise the flag and jump all over the place for. Right. And so the police represent one of the agencies in this country that should uphold the pride of independence. And so not having the commissioner, not just him, Nan Ibrahim, notice that, and his men. So which therefore means the hierarchy of the police was not even represented on that day. That's something big. Now, on that hand, you know, you wouldn't hit the governor for saying that, but for asking for his dismissal, now that's a whole
that's what I was about to
different
say. That is
kettle of fish.
Was he asking for his dismissal or removal from the state?
Okay, removal. Thank you. That's right. Dismissal means from service, but removal from the state. Because
but
to the
still,
governor,
at the end of the day, they're removing him. So
well, he disrespected me as the governor, and the ideal of the day was celebrated. But let's not bring parties to the matter. I don't think that's a political, you know.
Well, he's actually demanding the sack of the police commissioner. So,
he's actually asking for the sack.
No, but I think anyway. But I think that is too harsh.
So you can sack him from the state. You deploy. Sack can also mean, come on, you need to
march your time.
Now, the word I heard in that made me react a little bit is that the police commissioner is not loyal. Loyal to who? The police commissioner should be loyal to the federal government and not the state government, because he works for the federal government.
Be loyal to the integrity of
and the integrity of your job as well.
Which includes the
I guess which is why the governor had to bring politics to the matter, because they've been having this fracas of
then now we get it. Now we get it.
There's some personal,
because you can't just get up
it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
Nigeria 65. We should all be celebrating regardless. Now, the Punch newspaper, yes, we talked about Pengasson strike, and then it's so sad to know that 16% of crude oil output, 30% of gas supply disrupted during the strike, despite risk economic instability. Pengasson suspension, not cancellation, will strike again if deal fails. And Dangote denies victimizing staff. You know, this forth and back. It's okay that Dangote has agreed to reabsorbing the sacked, members of staff, but redeploying them in different, arms or wings. But let me just quickly get your submission quickly. As far as
when they say 16% and 30%, I would like them to also break it down to Naira and Kobo, because we need those figures. We need to know how much Nigeria had lost.
Talking about Naira and Kobo, they said that the loss actually stood at 283,000 barrels of oil per day, 1.7 billion standard cubic feet of gas per day, and more than 1,200 megawatts.
Just look at those figures.
Huge.
Look at those figures. So it makes me
just
feel,
in 24 hours.
Yes, it makes me feel that Pengasson had committed treason, because you have hit the Nigerian economy hard. And for you to come out again and say that if Dangote doesn't comply, that you are going to continue with the same strike.
That's right.
Come on, man. They are Nigerians too.
Ria, let us move on to the Daily Times. Divesting NNPCL shares will undermine energy sovereignty. ADC is warning President Tinubu, because there has been talk about divesting. Government does not have any business in doing business. Atiku Abubakar, who is likely going to be the candidate of the ADC, because it's the ADC that is saying that they should not divest it. Atiku Abubakar has been saying, if I become the president, I will sell off all of these assets that you guys are talking about. So is that not conflict of you know.
But I tell you, when
opinion.
it comes to opposition, they will say anything. We've spoken about it a lot of times on this table. But whenever I'm given the opportunity to speak about oil and gas and Nigeria's petroleum, all I can say is that let's do better. The corruption there is just a whole lot. The amount of money that has been put into different things, refineries, and we do not see anything. I think instead of saying this, let's really look at about accountability when we talk about our petroleum system in Nigeria. We depend solely on oil, and the fact that we suffer all those things. This back and forth mean nothing to me. I want to see working refineries. I want to see less corruption in the NNPC.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. I love that. Daily Trust, Nelson, saying that insecurity, over 180 schools shut. And if you look at these schools, you know, some of them in different states, 39 in Zamfara, 30 in Niger, 6 in Sokoto, 52 and 55 schools in Katsina, Benue, respectively. This is huge. We're talking about between 10 to 30 million out of school children.
Exactly, Brian, and that also builds onto the time bomb. It's like we're building this bomb carefully. In another 10, yes, in another 10, 20 years, then we'll begin to see the detonation of these bombs we built years ago.
God forbid.
Then we now put that blame on the current government of that time, as though they are not doing anything. This is something that we can. The president went to Benue State, you know, to visit. I was even on Plateau State now to visit the Yelwata when some of the incidents there happened. And I said on this table, I wish to God that that would be the very last time we hear any form of insecurity come out from that axis any longer, because this is not looking good any longer on the country.
Yes, yes.
If bandits themselves would have the boldness to consistently disrupt the peace of local dwellers like themselves. I mean, it's like this disturbing my own home. I don't understand the kind of mindset these guys
Nelson, let me
have.
just weigh in here. For me, when I hear out of school children, it really hurts me because I know what education is. I know the power of education. And if we do not educate these people, who are the future of tomorrow? These are the people. And imagine them not being educated. So it really worries me when I see news like this. Just like Nelson said, it's a ticking time bomb. In as much as we want to make it look like, oh, nothing will happen. If precautions are not taken, there's going to be a very
something would happen later in the future. They are the ones easily recruited as bandits, as Boko Harams, and petty thieves who will do harm to the people later.
The sad thing there is that the politicians, the children of the politicians who are abroad, you know, studying, having education, these people will not make them, you know, contribute positively to the benefit of.
Let me just
by the time they start, it will affect them.
Let me buttress the point you've been making. In 1953 or thereabout, China had a deliberate education program for its citizens. Look at what China is today. And what we are seeing the opposite in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Education is powerful. It's not something we joke with.
Let us move on to this Nigeria. This Nigeria. But the story has to do with this USA. Because talking about visas, anxiety among Nigerian applicants over US shutdown. Who wants to go at that?
I will. I'll just tell them to take it easy. The United States has come out to say, even though the embassy is shut down, visa activities are still ongoing. So you can go to the embassy and ask what you need to do to get your visa interview and maybe pay for your visa and all those things that you need to do to get your visa. They are still ongoing. It's the embassy that is shut down.
They've been talking a lot, so.
Look, the visa shutdown is also for infrivolities, right? If you have a legitimate reason, an urgent reason to be there, you would go through the process and it would be given to you. It's not as if the embassy has shut down and packed it and left. No.
Well, you know when we hear news, it's just...
But it's not just for, you know... just Wakai. No.
So before we move on to the very last paper, you can see that on this Nigeria now coming back home, we look at the Greater Nigeria, Tinubu's building block. Amazing. So you talk about the $1 trillion economy target, human capital development, security and peace, regional development, grassroots development, food security, oil production and energy, FDI and industrialization, infrastructure projects. So if you talk about the one that is very, very key, all of them are very germane. But you know, one of the things that people want to quickly hear something about is the food security, which has to do with the establishment of Federal Ministry of Livestock Development, Bank of Agriculture, recapitalized to the tune of 1.5 trillion naira, provision of farm machinery, fertilizers and inputs for farmers, falling food prices, eradicating hunger. So we discussed that, with our guests.
This is the picture of the renewed hope agenda.
Exactly.
That the president ran on, and so this Nigeria is laying out block by block of what the different sectors in the country that the president has, this administration has touched. But it must not always have to be President Bola Tinubu and the federal government. The states, y'all are taking a lot of money. Well. We need to see your own block.
And we know that the federal government and president is doing a fantastic job, and we read all of these things and we're happy and all of that. But I just keep saying that I cannot wait for it to finally start translating, in the daily lives of Nigerians. We talk about food security. We know how we need food as well. So if there is no food, how do the people even survive? Absolutely. I just can't wait for us to start seeing, the dividends of all on this.
Hence, we cannot continue to have insecurity in the north.
Go to the farm, we'll get the yields, and then they remove all the cobwebs on the roads.
So the security
and all of that. Talking about security, procurement of military equipment, robust intelligence gathering system, adoption of non-kinetic solutions, number of terrorists neutralized, over 13,000 of them, number of victims released, over 9,000, almost 10,000, and number of terrorists arrested, that's 17,000.
We're happy to see this, but we want to get to a point where we do not even get for this to be happening as well.
All right, then, let's move on to the very last one. Sport and Life, Osimhen is holding his head down, saying that Osimhen not injured. Nigerian was tired and had foot cramps. He was able to, score a goal for Galatasaray, against Allianzspor, and then he had knee cramps, the knee injury, so he had to be, substituted. But then they still are achieving. So saying that we shouldn't worry so much about Osimhen's state of health is just a mild thing.
Well, because of who Osimhen is, sorry, Choma, because of who he is, any small fly that perches on him, every sport
he's a Batman. He's a Batman.
And Osimhen
Batman is supposed to always be
exactly. So forgive Nigerians for being passionate about Osimhen. We just want the guy being on his 2 feet, standing strong, and giving us them goals.
Absolutely,
exactly.
Absolutely. Hit them boys. That's